Hey y'all, I just wanted to pop in. Encountered something today that it's been a hot minute since I've had to encounter. But when working with coaches or therapists or psychologists or whomever, not directly in the physical medical field, but in the mental health and emotional well-being field, a minute since I have had to declare the boundary of we won't be discussing diet, weight loss, diet culture, centric things. And I don't really know how to characterize what I just experienced other than to say the boundary was set and there was definitely surprise on the other person's end. A little bit of taken abackness, if that's what you want to call it. And while I believe that it will be respected, I definitely know that that I'm judged for that. Not just judged, but that it was deemed as the incorrect response. It seems like I am being combative as opposed to setting a hard boundary that truly helps my own mental health and my own emotional well-being, and thus my physical well-being. And while I do expect that that boundary will be respected, it was reinforced just moments later whenever I had mentioned that, for lack of a better explanation for what's going on, I need to make mention that whenever it was brought up that I might have physical ailments, that those physical ailments are not related to my diet in any way, shape, or form. And I was offered this anecdotal evidence that autoimmune issues can potentially be resolved with diet. And it offered me a practice moment, a moment in which I can smile and say, I appreciate you respecting my boundaries. It's been a hot minute since I had to lay in a boundary and see someone's reaction like that. And it is frustrating to feel like you're working with someone who knows what they're doing and who's very good at what they're doing. But they have the same diet culture bias that all of us are ingrained with. And we won't see eye to eye on that. It's just not happening. And while I'm okay with that, because again, I do believe that my boundary will be respected, if it's not, I will reinforce it further. It's more about the feeling of knowing that you're working with someone who inherently now feels as if you have a guard up or a block up to something that could, at your core, be fixed. And I'm sharing this because right now I'm in the midst of processing how to handle that, how to go through that. And it reminds me why I don't tend to work with people that aren't already anti-diet culture. And by work with, I mean for my own personal things, rather than helping someone else, me receiving help from them. It reinforces for me why I struggle to take to take on assistance from someone who at their core does not understand me at my core. Not to say that my core is all anti-diet culture, but my existence in this world is heavily based on being white, by being female, by being fat, and by being perceived as those things. Just like all of the intersections of marginalization, we all experience life based on how we are. So while I might not be impacted by the way someone thinks about me, emotionally, it doesn't impact me how somebody thinks about me. Physically, it doesn't impact me how someone thinks about me. I am impacted by how they impact my life. And I know that sounds all convoluted and like I'm circling around something, and that's because I'm thinking through this process. But just like a medical professional can give us malpractice based on our size, mental health care professionals can also, really miss the mark by not understanding where we might come from as fat justice activists or body liberation activists or just anti-diet culture, diet culture dropouts. And does that mean that they don't have something to offer me? No, absolutely not. That I still have many things that I can learn from many people. The thing I learn more and more in life is the more I learn, the less I feel I know. But it does remind me that I have carefully curated for myself a bubble in which I don't seek out people that are still ingrained in diet culture. And because of this specific circumstance, this is the person I will be working with. And I respect them, and I feel like they have a very good practice and a very good educational base in which to treat people. But this is a hiccup or a little fence that we're going to have to hurt. I'm going to cut in and say something else too. I benefit from the privilege of being white. I benefit from the privilege of appearing cishet, which, those are things that I benefit from, and it becomes acutely aware. I become acutely aware of those things on a semi-regular basis. I'm reminded of them regularly, and I think that's good. I think it's good to be reminded of where we hold privilege because it helps us step out of our own issues and help those more marginalized than ourselves. It is rare for me to be reminded of my own marginalization beyond, how people perceive my body. It is rare for me outside of my bubble to encounter such kickback in my ideology. So I've really done a great job of curating my own bubble. And I, like many people, I struggled to learn from someone who has, I hate to call them core beliefs, but beliefs and practices so dissimilar to mine. I struggle if someone incorporates much religion into their being and their way of speaking and their way of trying to relate to people, because I don't relate that way. I struggle to get beyond, being quoted the Bible or the Quran or being given holistic healing methods. Like I struggle to associate with someone who I don't necessarily share belief systems with. That's the right word here, because it's not core like morals or core values. It's belief systems. So people who have a belief system in hardcore Christianity, I struggle with associating with that because I don't. I respect people's boundaries in that sense. If that's what you believe and that's what helps you and that's what inspires you, then that's amazing for you. But it doesn't resonate with me. In fact, it often, if it's someone that is overwhelmingly so involved in that belief system, it often, has me pulling away. And that's just who I am. That's how I associate. That's what I don't resonate with. And the same holds true for people that are inherently involved in the system of diet culture. I talk about that regularly, so that should come as no surprise to y'all. The same holds true for trying to associate with a person more privileged than myself, a cishet white guy in a rather privileged monetary position. Their belief systems and their practice and the way they apply life might not resonate with me. Typically won't resonate with me. And so I'm at that point where it's just kind of a struggle because I don't normally find myself in this position. And while I fully believe in trying to remove the labels and remove the stereotypes so that we can learn from people that aren't as similar to ourselves as maybe the people we choose to normally be around, it is difficult to move beyond that when it feels like the core of their essence or the very belief system from which they practice existing is so different. Yeah, that's it. Nothing good or bad here. Just thoughts on kind of how that feels. And I would imagine that the more intersections of marginalization that one is in, the more difficult that is to traverse.